I'm Catherine Evelyn, and this is Nutrition Watchdog. You know, I was lucky enough to stay down in Baja, Mexico during the winter this year, and we stayed at some great houses with some amazing kitchens. The one thing I was really dismayed to find out about, though, is that most of the pans that were available to use were scratched up Teflon. I actually went out and bought my own pan to avoid some of those toxic chemicals, and I actually had a hard time trying to find a non-Teflon pan. So the question is Teflon safe to use? I was really wondering. Until the year 2013, Teflon was made using a chemical called, let's see if I can say this, perfluorooctanoic acid, or PFOA for short. PFOA is a possible carcinogen. It's also a hormone disruptor and a reproductive toxin. It's also been linked to a number of serious health conditions, including chronic kidney disease, liver disease, thyroid disorders, and even testicular cancer. And it's been connected to low fertility and low birth weight babies as well. Pretty serious stuff, huh? What's more, it's considered to be in 98% of people in the United States, according to a national health survey done in 1999 and 2000. The other big problem with PFOAs is that it's highly persistent, meaning that once it's in your body, in the air, in the water, in the environment, it doesn't go away. It doesn't break down easy, and it doesn't disappear. While most of the carcinogens in Teflon are actually eliminated during manufacturing process, thankfully, there is still some small amounts left in the Teflon pans. And I'm talking about the newer Teflon pans now. The biggest problem is that when Teflon is overheated, the chemicals not only enter the food being cooked, but they can vaporize into the air as well. I'll give you a list of some of those toxic ingredients, but they're pretty tough to pronounce, but they sound pretty scary. Maybe you'll recognize some of them. Tetrafluoroethylene, TFE, hexafluoropropylene, which is HFP, OFCB or octafluorocyclobutane, PFIB, perfluorobutane, CF4, carbon tetrafluoride, TFA, trifluoroacetic acid. Pretty toxic sounding to me. Because of the concerns to the human health and the environment, Teflon with PFOA has been phased out, although you may still be able to find some of those older versions at some stores. But after the year 2013, they stopped making it with PFOAs. But that doesn't mean that Teflon is 100% safe now. When Teflon is heated to temperatures above 500 degrees Fahrenheit or 250 Celsius, the coating on the nonstick cookware begins to break down, and that's when those toxic chemicals get into the air. So inhaling these toxic chemicals can actually make you sick, and there's something called Teflon flu, and it has some pretty serious symptoms. So you're thinking, okay, I really like my Teflon pan. I'll just be really careful and not heat it up super hot, and it'll be fine. That's true, but it's unbelievably easy for pans to very quickly get to 500 degrees. There's a video that shows it, and a pan heated on high can get to 500 degrees in about 2 minutes or less. So you have to be really careful. Here are some things to keep in mind if you want to keep your Teflon pans and avoid the toxins. Discard any nonstick pans that are 5 to 7 years old or older, or if they have scratches, flaking, or peeling. And you have to be really attentive when you're cooking. If you tend to burn foods, you obviously have the temperature too high, and that is releasing those toxic elements. Be aware of what kinds of foods you're cooking in your Teflon pan as well. Well, liquids boil at 212 degrees Fahrenheit, so you know it's not going to get any hotter. That's safe. Eggs cook at a pretty low temperature too, so that's generally okay. Meat, however, cooks at a high temperature, and usually you have to sear it. Plus it has a bigger surface area, so it's much better and much safer to use something like a cast iron pan, or even stainless steel, or your grill. Be sure to ventilate your kitchen really well too, because those toxic fumes are circulating in the air, and they can actually be toxic to your pet as well. And keep a close eye on what you're cooking, and try not to turn the heat up higher than medium, because you know it's going to get too hot. And don't multitask. I know everyone likes to do that in the kitchen, but you have to be careful if you're using Teflon. And definitely use something like silicone or plastic utensils so you don't scratch up your pan. And of course, wash it with a non-scratchy sponge as well. So those things are okay if you want to keep Teflon. There's some great alternatives out though. My favorite is the old-fashioned cast iron pan. If it's properly seasoned, stuff doesn't stick to it. You can even scramble eggs in it and they don't stick. I love cast iron. They last forever and they can withstand super high temperatures. And they're great for things like searing meat or browning things or making stir fries when you want to have a nice high temperature. And they cook a variety of things as well. The biggest downside, and this is not a big deal, but it is if you have this kind of cooktop, they're really heavy, and especially when they're full of food, they're kind of hard to lift up. If you have a ceramic or glass cooktop, be super careful. I broke mine and it wasn't cheap to fix. The next thing is the ceramic pans. Now, ceramic pans are kind of new, and there's a popular brand called the Green Pan that became super well known. But ceramic pans are not actually ceramic. They are a combination of ingredients that includes silica, and it's heated to a super high temperature, and it creates this nice hard finish. They work great. You can use them at much higher temperatures, but you have to be super careful because when they get scratched up, they lose their non-stickiness and then they just don't work. So they're not actually ceramic, but they are made of safe ingredients that include silica or glass. Compared to those Teflon style ones, ceramic pans can function well for a variety of things at higher temps, actually up to 800 degrees Fahrenheit. I don't recommend you try heating anything up to that high temperature because it's probably going to burn. So the next one is stainless steel. I have a whole set of stainless steel pans and I love them. They work for everything. They're very versatile and robust, and mine's pretty heavy duty. And they work great for almost everything. And the one thing I've noticed with time and use is they actually can become slightly seasoned too. But you can also use them for higher temperatures and sear meat and do stir fries and those kind of things. The other one that's really popular and safe is anodized aluminum. Now, anodized aluminum, a lot of people were afraid of aluminum because they said it can cause Alzheimer's and that it's toxic, and that is true. Anodized aluminum is an inner core of aluminum so that it conducts heat. But the surface of it is very safe and non-reactive for food, and there are no toxic elements in it. The one thing you have to be careful about with anodized aluminum is that if you scratch that inner surface, you can get down to the aluminum core, and then foods will end up interacting with that aluminum. So that's my roundup of pans. You're better off staying away from Teflon, but if you really like it, the newer Teflon is reasonably safe as long as you don't heat it up too much. Cast iron works great, stainless steel works great, and ceramic is awesome. So there you go. I'm Kat Ebling. Cook well, cook in good health, and take care.